Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating story of strategic transformation. It's a case study that every business leader, every consultant, and anyone interested in how a large-scale organization tackles its biggest challenges needs to hear. Yes, we are talking about Apollo Hospitals and what I call the Apollo Blueprint. Imagine you are a CEO. You have built your company from the ground up and it's become a massive success. You have a network of over 70 hospitals, thousands of clinics, and you are a household name. But with that success comes a hidden problem. You start seeing cracks in the foundation. Different hospitals are doing things slightly different. The quality of care, the patient experience, is not perfectly consistent. The very large scale that gave you the advantage is now at a strategic risk. This was the paradox the Apollo Hospital was facing. Their brand was built on the promise of world-class, consistent care, but with rapid decentralization expansion, that promise was under threat. The solution they came up with is a masterclass in operational excellence. They didn't just fix a problem, they engineered a new system for success. Apollo's strategy, it was just built on two core principles, or called two core pillars. I'll name it as pillar number one as standardizing clinical quality. They needed to make sure that whether you walked into an Apollo hospital in Delhi or Chennai, you're getting the same high quality evidence-based care. To do this, they launched something called the Apollo Clinical Excellence Program. Now, this wasn't some static one-time initiative. This was a living, breathing framework. It started back in 2005 as a scorecard called ACE at 25 with 25 mission critical parameters. Over the years, they refined it, updated it with new clinical evidence, and eventually expanded it to ACE at 40. Their latest iteration, ACE 3.0, now measures 30 core clinical parameters but also includes 5 new ideal process parameters. This is very crucial distinction. It's not just about measuring outcomes like mortality rates, it's about measuring whether you're following the correct process that lead to those better outcomes. To ensure they were truly world class, they did something very bold. They didn't just benchmark against themselves. They benchmarked against the very best in the world institutions like the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, and the Johns Hopkins. This created an objective, external yardstick that pushed the entire organization to compete at the highest level. But how do you enforce this across a sprawling network? This is where the governance and the tech comes in. Apollo, they wisely segmented their hospital into 3 tiers, A, B, and C. So the standards were ambitious yet achievable for all. They built a centralized cloud-based platform called the Apollo Lighthouse platform to collect the data from all the hospitals in real time. This gave leadership a single source of truth. And finally, they used a system of accountability and incentives. The low-performing hospitals, they had to submit action plans, and the best hospitals received ACE Champion Awards. This created a sense of internal competition, turning performance into a source of organizational pride. It's a brilliant example of what consultants called competitive federalism, where you set the standards from the top but empower the local leaders to figure out how to meet them. But standardized clinical pathways are just an idea if you don't have the right tools. And that brings us to the very second pillar.
Pillar number 2, fortifying the operational backbone. Apollo recognized that clinical excellence is impossible without a rock-solid administrative and technological foundation. Their first move was to centralize procurement. Before this, each hospital was buying its own supplies. This meant they lost on economies of scale. But centralizing, they could use their massive purchasing power to negotiate better prices and, more importantly, ensure that every single hospital had access to the same high-quality approved medical supplies. This logistical consistency was a non-negotiable prerequisite for implementing those standardized clinical pathways. Next, they went all in on digital transformation. This wasn't just about a new app, it was an entire infrastructure overhaul. they migrated to a modern, hyper-converged infrastructure, which consolidated their hardware by 66%. This freed up physical space inside hospitals and eliminated performance bottlenecks. This robust foundation then became the engine for running a unified hospital information system and electronic medical records across the entire network of Apollo. Now, if a patient walks into any Apollo hospital, their medical data is instantly and reliably available to their doctors. This is the technical engine that makes a scoreboard possible, because you need clean, consistent data to measure anything at scale. So, how did all this work out? The results are staggering. The data proves that quality isn't a cost, it's a driver of value. Let's look at the numbers. On the clinical front, the average ACE score rose consistently. They implemented an AI-powered patient monitoring system that successfully cut cardiac arrest events or code blues by a remarkable 80%. On the operational front, these improvements translated directly into efficiency. The average length of a patient's stay fell from 4.79 days to 4.43 days, which effectively increased the hospital's capacity without adding a single new bed. Nurse workload for recording vitals reduced by 70%, and finally, the financial impact was undeniable. The AI systems alone estimated to have reduced the ward operation cost by 26%. In their most recent fiscal quarter, the company reported a 76% year-on-year increase in consolidated net profit, with leadership explicitly attributing to the results to operational efficiencies and cost discipline. This case study gives us a powerful lesson. Apollo created a virtuous cycle of value. They invested in quality, which led to better patient outcomes. Better patient outcomes led to better operational efficiencies. Those efficiencies generated financial gains, which they could then reinvest back into a next wave of quality and innovation. For another leader in healthcare or beyond, the takeaway is clear. Don't view quality as a vague, intangible concept. Treat it as a scalable system that can be defined, measured, and managed. Recognize that your operational and clinical strategies are two sides of the same coin. They must be deeply synergetic, and most importantly, use data to win hearts and minds. The most effective way to drive change and get physician buy-in to show them the credible proof that these new standards will lead to better, safer outcomes for their patients. Apollo hospitals didn't just build a successful healthcare network, they built a blueprint for operationalizing excellence at scale.